Hey everyone, it's Alan over at Cobblers Plus in Denver, and today we got a pair of Ferragamos that we're going to be converting from a rubber sole to a leather JR sole. So come join us and check out what that's like. I'm Alan Trushkov. Join us today and enter our world of a cobbler to see the craftsmanship it takes to rebuild and restore footwear and other leather goods, as well as recommendations from our industry. So I've got these Ferragamos here, and Ferragamo rubber soles, they're kind of a pain to remove. It's like a combination of needing to use sometimes thinner, sometimes you got to use heat. So we're going to start out first by seeing what we're dealing with here. Okay, might be able to pull it off with some thinner. Let's go ahead and remove the last here. Makes it a little bit easier to get the thinner down in there. Just a little bit at a time. As you can tell, we're still unpacking and trying to get things situated here. I've got a lot to do, so we don't have our full setup yet where it's pretty looking, but it's coming along. Just takes a while just because it's in combination with trying to do repair work and setting up and unpacking. Definitely takes a bit of time. Okay, I should probably face this a little bit more towards you guys so you can see a little bit. It's quite literally just pulling it back little by little. There is a little bit of a surprise underneath the sole here. I'll show you all in just a second. Just want to pull it back a little further. One thing I do like with the Ferragamo rubber soles though, they're not a particular rubber. When you start adding any thinners or acetones or any other solutions like this, there are certain rubbers that melt, just completely melt. So we just have to deal with that sometimes, but thankfully Ferragamo's a solid rubber. Anyways, I've got majority of it off. Well, not majority, at least majority of the toe area off, but check that out. That's a little, if I can get it out, it's one of those there. It's a metal detector piece so that the shoes aren't stolen. Somebody doesn't wear them out. They have to be deactivated when you're buying them. So if you're buying them at a store, they end up deactivating them. That's why if you see at a store, they have the scanner and it goes through the scanner and then it's rubbed on this small little silver area there. It's a deactivator, actually deactivates this here, so it's no longer in use, so that you walk out the door and the alarm doesn't get set off. But thought I'd show you that. Some of us cobblers in the group would joke around about it. It's Uncle Sam spying on us or some other stuff, and they're just tracking us. But no, it's just a metal detector chunk so that prevents any kind of theft of certain footwear. Nice high-end brands like this have this. A lot of other companies that are not very high-end either have started doing it too. It's a smart way of preventing theft, but we have no use for it. It's deactivated anyways, so and you can probably see Janelle in the background there. She's gonna grab that. But we're gonna go ahead and finish pulling this off the rest of the way. So once I'm done pulling off the soles, I'll let you check out what it's like on the inside and see what it looks like. So we'll see you back here in just a little bit. All right, so it's a little bit taking longer than I expected because the move, we're still unpacking and stuff. I mean, it's been a little while now since we moved over. Not months necessarily, but it's just in between unpacking and trying to get work done and stuff. It's just crazy. So I got the soles off last night completely and glued up all this trim here. So this area where the leather wraps around like that, it starts to pull up along with the sole because it's just glued down and everything. And it's one of those things that it's gonna happen. It's inevitable. So we end up having to re-glue it all, let it cure for a little while, and then I start getting ready for the soles. Now, as far as taking this guy off, there are easier methods to do it. We went kind of the harder route, I guess you can say. One of the easy methods is, you know, cutting off this heel right here completely, taking the sole over to the machine and sanding it out. Some cobbler shops do that. I don't like doing that, one, because you might accidentally sand a little too far and damage the interior here. The other thing is, we're still going to be using this sole for being able to measure things out. As an example, I thought somebody was behind me there for a second. As an example, I cut out the JR sole right here. You can see. So we trace it out and everything, cut it out, and that way we can get that JR logo a little more centered. It's more of an aesthetics thing, but I still try to get it looking nice, you know. So as far as the thickness, this one's a 9 to 10 iron here. So I measured it out. It's the same thickness as what the original rubber sole came as. Now the rubber sole, it's a little bit more of a cupped style like this, so it has kind of that edge right there. Now I'm not going to do it the same way there. I mean, I could end up adding a welt on here, but Ferragamos are supposed to be very kind of slim, low profile. I just had a pair recently that I did. It was a leather sole that was on there originally, and then we replaced it with leather. And they usually don't really have a welt on there. Welt, unfortunately, it sticks out. It's nice and aesthetically pleasing, but not for Ferragamos. Ferragamos just need to be slim, low profile. So I'm not adding any kind of like decorative welt or anything like that to these. While I do have the sole off, however, I also want to show, before we move on, I did take out the insoles, of course, out of here, and the insoles we're going to need removed regardless, because we're going to actually be stitching these. So these were not stitched, obviously, because of the rubber sole. Rubber doesn't stitch very well, especially certain methods of stitching. What we're going to do with this one is what's called a Blake stitch. So our machine's going to go in with an arm on the inside here, and then it's going to stitch all the way around right over here in the ball of the foot area mainly. Usually you don't need to go in the back area, and on Ferragamos you kind of want to avoid that anyways, because the way that their shank is designed, it's inside here, there's no shank underneath. And the gentleman, he was asking about cork. There was no cork in these, there was no other fillers, there's only this one thin strip of leather. If there is any kind of other fillers like a foam or a cork, obviously we're going to replace it, it gets damaged and stuff. But these thin leather ones, if I add a cork in right now, it's going to be a little discomforting for him, so we don't want to do that, you know. So we're just going to make sure that it's sitting there nicely. And another thing is, I want to point out that there are some shoe manufacturers out there that you just can't stitch. The way it's designed, the internal structure is not very strong, the leather is not very strong. I had a pair of Magletter Pellies, if I could pronounce it right, and before I started taking apart the shoe, I really thought I was going to Blake stitch them. That's what we're doing for these. I thought I would, but once I started taking it apart and everything and started seeing the interior structure, I was like, nope, these are not going to hold up. Because you do got to consider the fact that, you know, the thread is going to tighten up and pull, and if your machine's pulling it a little too much, I mean, even if you dial down the tension, then you're going to have loose threads. It just wasn't going to work out well with those. Thankfully, these ones are going to withstand a Blake stitch on there. And again, if you don't know what a Blake stitch is, that's where we go in from the inside and stitch it clear through the sole and everything. There are other methods of stitching. You can check out one of our other videos on our Sole Talk Sunday. We talk about the different builds of shoes, so you can definitely check that one out. But that's what we'll do with these. So at this point, I'm going to go ahead and sand out all the old glues here. Got one of the soles already cut out, and I still got to cut the second one. I left it a little so I could show you guys and start working at it basically. And I also need to make sure I get the measurements of the heel blocks or heel bases, so I can start building those up at least. I mean, we usually layer piece by piece. Sometimes we end up pre-assembling them and then putting them on, so there's different methods of doing that as well. These ones, I think I'm going to do a pre-assembled version where we end up attaching it on there, and it'll just conform a little bit better that way. Some shoes, structure-wise, it's different. It's better to put one layer on and then another, and then just layer one after another, where this one I think will handle a lot better if it's with one of our pre-built ones that we pre-assemble while we're doing the soling process. We call them pre-built. I mean, I do have some pre-built ones, but they're for different purposes. But I actually take pieces of leather and stack them up and sand them as I'm going to try to get a rough shape of it and everything to make it easier in the long run. Anyways, before I keep talking too much, I'm gonna go ahead and get these taken care of. When it's time to get them all glued up, I'll see you then. All right, so we're back here again with these. I've got the couple of coats of glue, and just wanted to show everybody this real quick. I ended up dyeing the inside of the sole around the edges. This is the bottom where the glue is, and it's mainly just because it's aesthetics. I mean, you're just going to see a little bit of the light color. It's still going to be filled in with an edge dressing, but I like to touch it up with a little bit of black alcohol-based dye. It's just a Phoebing's dye like this. They do have another version of this stuff. It's called the professional one. It has a bit more of an oil base to it, but we're not wanting any kind of oils in this, otherwise the adhesives don't bond as properly. So that's one of the things we do, but we'll go ahead and start lining this all up, make sure everything's all good. There we go. And start hammering away. So far good. I like that. Of course, there's going to be a fair amount that needs to be cut off still, even though I cut it, marked it and cut it and everything. I always go a little bit larger, so when you end up finally lining everything up, there's going to be a fair amount sticking out. So I'm going to go ahead and put this on the press. The other one's on there right now, and let it cure for a good couple of hours, trim up the edges, and start trimming up all the sides here. I'll let you guys check that out at least, as well as getting ready to do the channeling. I did forget to mention one other thing, that the shank in here is not as wide as I thought it was. It was actually a little bit narrower, about an inch in diameter, so we should have no problem stitching all the way towards the back here. So we're going to go ahead and channel it all the way underneath where the heel base will be. I've got the heel base, where did I move it? Sorry, I've got so much stuff up here, but it's up here. I gotta stand up and find it, but I've got the heel base pieces drying and curing, and we'll get those going after we finally stitch it and get everything else on there. So we'll see you all back here in just a little bit. All right, so we're over at our machine right now. We're gonna be using here what's called a trimmer. We've got our sanding belt here, and we've got our little channel groover. Sorry, spaced out there. It's kind of getting a little late here tonight, so so the trimmer we're going to be using to trim up most of this here. It's going to take off majority of what we need to, and then I'll touch up a few spots on the sander if I need to, as well as rough up the back here for our heel bases that I've been putting together. These are JR leather. I didn't show that because the sheet that I have is huge. I mean, trying to balance it on the cutter and everything, it just looks funny all in itself. So trying to concentrate on the camera while also trying to cut it, it was just too much to handle all at one time. So I kind of skipped over that part. But we've got those guys taken care of. I just need as you can tell, they're all rough looking, not a perfect cut or anything like that. But I'm just going to end up sanding them up a little bit. I do have an old Allen Edmond heel base here that I have as a marker, and that will help me kind of get a rough idea of gauging where the sanding mark should be roughly and everything. So I'll just use that as a marker for also sanding out this inside a little bit. But let's go ahead and get started then. All right, so I had to stop the machine there for a second just so that I can grab the old sole and mark up where the heel base would be starting, basically. Right there. Okay, so got that. Let's just see. now, sorry, trying to do that. Now I can mark it up like that. There we go. Okay, so let's go ahead and continue then. Alright, so I've got that one all sanded up, got the edging. Now I gotta go ahead and clean all this up here and get ready for stitching. Now, usually if we do some form of colored stitching, that's when we'll sand it out first and then put the bottom finish on and then mess with the stitching. But because we're gonna be just using a neutral color and everything, we're gonna go ahead and go straight for the stitching. And then afterwards we can sand it out because the stitches are sitting inside of a channel, and if I put a bottom finish on it right now anyways, you know, because we're gonna be doing a neutral finish and everything, it just means that I may have to sand it out again because we're gonna have black edge and then a neutral colored bottom. It becomes a little problematic, and sometimes you have to end up double sanding it, and you don't want to double sand it. Now the sanding is so fine because I use a palm sander that it only takes off just the finish, and basically we reapply a new finish over top of that. So don't be thinking that we're just making the leather thinner. We're not even a little bit, you know, maybe half of a hair thickness basically. But anyways, I've got this one sanded up, so we're gonna make sure this one's for the right foot, just so that we know that's the one we had ready for the right foot. And I'll go ahead and do the other one, and we'll see you back at the stitcher here in just a few. Alright everyone, we're back here. It was the next day. I ended up getting kind of late, and I had a bunch of other things also doing at the same time. So it's time to stitch, but then my machine starts acting up, starts ripping thread and everything, and I could not figure out what was going on. I went through, oiled it up, cleaned out certain areas and stuff, and was just having trouble with it. I have no idea why. Well, I decided to finally break down. I made a video for a group on Facebook for cobblers. It's called SRI. It's not open to the public, so I'm not telling you to go check that out. Unless you're a cobbler, definitely go check it out then. But I ended up making a short video asking for some help and advice, and you know, it's one little small pin basically that I had misaligning. And you know, the SRI group, the SRI family was helpful. I mean, they helped me very quickly. I wish I did it earlier today. I was trying to figure it out myself, and I was like, wait, I got a lot of fellow cobblers that are very, very friendly and very helpful all the time. So I just wanted to give a quick shout out to Steve Declan out at Beatles Leatherworks in Virginia, John Farrington out in California, and well, let's see, he lives in Temecula, I can't pronounce it, California, basically. I can't see what his shop's name is. John, you gotta post that stuff, man. But hopefully he checks out this video and comments down below with his shop name. So definitely check these guys out, as well as Tony Marino. Tony, sorry, I've never met you, so I don't know exactly where your shop or anything is either. So definitely huge shout out to these guys. They were very, very helpful. They got this thing working right now for me, so huge thank you to those guys. So I just had to give that shout out real quick. But we're gonna go ahead and stitch it up now. Spray it down with some water. I did go through with a brass bristle brush and cleaned out the channel area here to get it to be nice and clean, so that we don't have any problems with little gunk basically getting tangled up in the thread. But this is going to be the first run on an actual pair of shoes for today with this machine finally tuned. I've been testing out on sample pieces the whole time. I'll grab that right there. This was the latest one. I was just experimenting with it. Worked out great. I have about half a dozen of those scrap pieces that were just demolished with everything. But before I keep mumbling, babbling on, whatever you want to call it, let's go ahead and start. Let's see. Yeah, this is for you, SRI. You guys are awesome. Worked out beautifully. So pull that little thread down and secure it with a little bit of adhesive there, and then the heel block's going on top of that. But I'm happy. Just gotta clean up some of that. Sometimes you get a little bit of sock lint or something that ends up getting pulled through by the needle. I have blown this out on the inside with some compressed air, but it's not gonna get all that lint. But kind of comes to show, these guys on SRI help me out a lot. So, you know, if you're wanting some of the world's greatest cobblers, check out anyone that has an SRI logo on their front door or on their counter somewhere. If they also say that, you know, if you ask them, are you a part of SRI? If they say, what's SRI? There's your answer there. But, of course, some of the great cobblers, not all of them are on SRI either. You could also ask if they are part of SSIA, Shoe Service Institute of America. And a lot of the great cobblers are on there as well. I mean, there are a few that I'm not too proud to say are on there as well. But, you know, just ask them. The ones that are very active in SSIA, they're usually some of the better cobblers. So as soon as you say SSIA, then they know immediately, like, oh yeah, we're part of SSIA, we're part of SRI. If they respond quickly and know what it is, you're in the right place. You know, all of us cobblers around the world, I mean, we talk, we help each other out, give each other tips and pointers. And, you know, our trade, everyone likes to say, is a dying trade. We're not dying, we're just evolving. And all of us cobblers that are, you know, hanging in there strong, we're coming together with all these groups and organizations and working with each other to improve our industry, improve our quality of workmanship, our craftsmanship. And, you know, I have no problem if you're out of state, if you want to ship shoes to us, we'll gladly take it. If you're local, we'll take it. If you want to ship it to one of the other great cobblers around North America, probably not worth it outside of the country, but a lot of great cobblers in Canada. A few of them I've talked to online a few times, a lot here in America, a few out in Australia and Germany. We had a fellow cobbler that visited us, Marcel from Amsterdam. Really beautiful patina work he does. It's awesome. You know, check him out. I don't have his card here since we moved the shop and everything, but you could probably find him on Instagram or on Facebook. I'll leave a link in the description for his channel as well as the few cobblers that I mentioned here. I'll see what links I could find for them too, and leave them in the description. Check them out. They're all great. Do beautiful and awesome work. But this is for you, SRI. You guys saved my butt today with this thing because I've been messing with this machine all day, basically. But anyways, I'm going to go ahead and finish out the other one, clean up this area, and we'll get ready to start running some nails in here before we start gluing the heel base on. So we'll see you in a few. Alright, so we're over here. I thought I'd take my hat off so it doesn't get in the way or anything. Yes, I know, need a haircut, all that kind of stuff. And some of you may be saying shave. I'm actually thinking about growing it out. Yeah? No? By the time this video's out, it's probably going to be a little bit longer, but we'll see how it goes. Maybe I'll end up shaving it. No idea yet. But I'm gonna grab my hammer here and just kind of hammer around here. There we go. Kind of helps close off maybe a little bit of that channel in certain areas if need be. Oh, sorry, almost like a hiccup thing. Now we take a little bit of this glue here. It's really thin, and we're just gonna tack down right here the thread, because this is a nylon thread. There we go. Contact cement would work fine, but I like to use this stuff here. It's basically like super glue almost, just a very, very fine, thin version of it. And so when the nylon thread ends up absorbing it, it binds the nylon thread. I could put it all the way around. We used to do that, but the problem is that, again, it dries and hardens, especially with the chemical reaction with nylon. And then when the person's walking right in these areas, it starts to crack and just doesn't look great or anything. But I'll show you guys here. We're going to use some clinch nails like that. Hopefully you guys can see it. I hope so. But clinch nails are designed to go in for the back area here. They're long, as you can tell, definitely longer than the thickness of the sole. But when they go in, they go through basically everything, kind of like the stitch here. And they hit the cast iron last right here. And they curve into basically a hook like that. I say basically a lot, I just noticed that. But once they curve, they, sorry, got a hammer there a little bit. Once they curve, they secure that back area very nicely and prevent it from coming apart. Makes it harder for cobblers in general to take it apart, but with the JR premium leather sole, you shouldn't have that issue for quite some time. And there are different methods of taking them apart too, so we would rather have it more secure while the person's wearing these, and feel confident when he picks these up. Sorry, I got a hammer. When he picks these up and be able to wear them however much he wants to, and then when he finally brings them back for a resoling, maybe a couple of years, maybe 10 years, who knows, it depends how often he wears them and the conditions he wears them in, and we'll be able to use a tool to get in on the inside and just kind of get everything out. Now, as far as the inside, that's what it looks like when it's stitched up. Don't know if you guys can see some of that, but we'll have that covered with the original insole as well, so it won't be visible anymore. Even so, you shouldn't be able to feel those stitches there at all, especially with the hammering that we just did. That didn't just hammer the outside edge here, it did the inside of the shoe too. So go ahead and do the last one here. Kind of gives you an idea. So far we've got 5 of them in, and we're going to put in 4 more on this side here. That way it goes all the way around, so a total of 9 nails. You know, it's going to be even more secure with the gripper nails that we're going to put in, or what are they called? Clinch nails, or no, gripper nails, and those are a few other names for it. But they're basically these nails here. Hopefully you guys can see it, but they've got these little rings around them, and so once they go in, they hold the heel block, the ones that we are making right here, the heel block, the sole, and the shoe all together a little more securely. Some companies actually just use these gripper nails. Some companies use just the clinch nails. Sometimes the high-end companies, they use both. And cobblers, same thing, we use both. We want the best we can for you. At least most of us cobblers do. There's a few cobblers that try to find shortcuts, but that's why we make these videos, to show we're not taking any shortcuts. You know, I didn't even try stitching these until my machine was finely tuned today, because I wanted it done right. I was not about to stitch any shoes on there until it was finely tuned, because it kept ripping threads on me. Now it's not ripping threads. stitches beautifully, and I'm feeling confident letting this gentleman wear his shoes out with no problems whatsoever. So I'll go ahead and continue on and get these heel block pieces glued up and get ready to stick them together once they're ready. So we'll see you back here a little bit later. All right, so I've gone ahead and stuck the heel bases on that I had and sanded them out, at least roughly for now, to get the shape and everything so I can start leveling it out. I did run the gripper nails inside also off of our heel wheel. Hopefully you guys can see that. There's a total of 5 in there. Usually 5 is about standard. Certain builds and styles will require a little bit more, but you know, because this is more of a slip-on, more of a low profile type of shoe, we don't necessarily need that many nails to go in there, and have given a fair amount of time to cure as well, as far as like the heel base, left them on the press for a good while and everything. But I've realized also that I am out of stock of this size of JR heels right there. Reason why I say this size, because I'm not going to use this one. This was like an experiment I was testing with it, and the leather is not in good shape anymore because I used some really odd stuff on it. I was testing stuff out. Big whoop, it's one of those things. I was trying to get our logo on there, which I forgot to put one on the bottom of this one. It's a little too late now, just because if I try to punch it on here right now, it's going to turn out a little wonky because of that shank in there. I do like the curvature. I don't know if you guys can really see it there, but the shank right there just kind of bevels slightly. I like it. It's beautiful looking, so but anyways, at this point I'm going to go ahead and start measuring out all my thicknesses that I need for the heel. Make sure it's all leveled and stuff. So if I grab this caliper here, 23.23 at the back end, and then 20. Let me grab a notepad. Oh, somebody stole my notepad. Well, it's going to go on the back of this one here. 20. What did I say it was? I already forgot. Short-term memory problems. Make sure it's zeroed out. Okay. Okay. And then right at the very back, make sure I get the spot that's not worn out, because these have been worn, so there's a little bit of wear on the back end here. And what I mean by on the back end is right over here on this outer edge. I'm trying to measure closer to this side, which gets very little to no wear, at least on a pair that hasn't been worn this much. This one definitely hasn't been, but I just want to make sure I got all the measurements. Now I do have to consider this thing here. Let me go ahead and alter this real quick so I get a more accurate measurement. And the reason why I'm saying that also is because, again, these are a slightly cupped sole, and we're putting a leather on there, and so leather is going to be straight where a cupped sole has a little raised wall. I'm going to go ahead and sand that out just a little bit to make sure I get that wall off and make sure that I get the right measurements. Let's see how much of a difference it is, right? Got 23.1 and 25.1. Let's see what we're going to, and that's millimeters for anyone that might be wondering. So I'll be right back in just a second. Okay, back here again. I ended up sanding it out a little bit more smoothly. Now, make sure this is zeroed out. Let's go ahead and do the measurements now. Hey. Got it down. 2 millimeters down. We're at 21.1. And the back end, that means it'll be the same. Let's see. There we go. Yep. 23.1. Okay. So took off almost, well, not almost, we took off 2 millimeters of this sidewall here, which definitely makes a bit of a difference. So want to make sure that's taken care of. Now, of course, I'm going to make sure that after I measure everything out, I'm still going to make sure to check to see how the pitch is and everything on the shoe with this heel here, because currently the way it sits, I wish I had a clipboard. I'm going to borrow this lid here. Currently it's sitting perfect without the top lift heel, just about. Now if we're going to be getting this on here, the problem is that, let's see if I can hold this all up for you guys. Problem is that there's that gap like that, and it's just off horribly, you know. So we got to make sure that we take that into consideration. All right, and let's just see what we're dealing with here. Make sure that's all pressed down. 25.1. By old measurements, the back end is perfect. That means at the front here, and when I say the back end and the front end, when we're looking at the heel, this is the back end here, this is the front end when you're looking at the shoe. So 25.1, that means it should be the same all around. I just want to double check. This off. Okay. I think I may have already sanded this slightly. Huh, okay. So it looks like this is matching up with the top lift by the old measurements a little bit, very close. So currently with the heel here on the back end, it's 23.9, and back here it's 25.1. It's very close by the old measurements before we took off that little wall there. So let's go ahead and just adjust that and make sure it's all taken care of. And then tomorrow I'm getting these heels in, and we'll finally be able to get these taken care of. In the meantime, I'm also, almost completely forgot, gonna go ahead and clean these up, spray them down with some desalter mixed with white vinegar and water to remove any of the old salts from the foot, because the foot perspires always and it releases salts. So we're gonna go ahead and get that cleaned up a little bit for this gentleman before we glue them back in tomorrow so that they dry overnight thoroughly. And yeah, as far as these rubber soles, if anybody's wondering, again, they are very nice soles. They're not a vinyl of any kind, and they're very durable. It's a solid rubber. The other thing is the way they did the hollowing out here in the back of the heel. Now with rubber heels, they usually do that anyways. If anyone's concerned, oh, why isn't it solid? It's going to be more durable. Well, yes, but the other problem is that it's going to add a lot more weight. Rubber is always heavier than leather. So if you fill that all in with the same type of rubber, it's going to end up making the shoe a lot heavier on the back end, and you really don't want that with a slip-on shoe. Your heel's going to slide off very easily. So you want to make sure you got that taken care of. Now, I am debating if I should try to drill out a couple of holes here to make this a little bit lighter weight too. So I'm going to ponder that over. Weight wise, it's not bad and everything. Just wanna check. I'll probably go ahead and drill out some holes here in the meantime. So let me go ahead and do that real quick. Got my drill here, but wrong size drill bit. So I'll see everybody back here in just a little bit then. All right, so I've got them drilled out there. Got 9 holes there in total. I mean, it's not going to do too much as far as lightening it, but just enough, you know. It's just a little bit that we're trying to get. As far as anyone who's wondering about the depth, did a trick like that there. Put a little bit of tape when you measure out the bit to see how deep it's going to go, and as soon as you get close enough, the tape ends up getting really close, and you can catch it a little bit better than if I was just to take a marker and mark it basically. So now that I'm done with that, go ahead and take it off, and we'll save that drill for later. But for today, basically I'm kind of done at this point. I can't do much as far as the heels go until I get the actual top lift heels in and everything, because at that same point, that's when I'll be sanding everything out. So for today, I'm basically done. For you guys, it'll be a few seconds, but I'll continue on tomorrow on my end here, and we'll see you guys in just a few. All right, everyone, we're back here again. I kind of ended up forgetting I was doing a video on this, and it's been kind of another long day for me here, but I finished out the bottom on here, did the edging and everything. Still have to, of course, do the shine on it, so it's not fully finished on the uppers yet. But at this stage, while the leather's still fairly soft with that finish on there, we're going to go ahead and run some little brass nails in here in the back of the top lift, because the top lift, it is designed with two pieces, of course, with a combination. You've got the leather and the rubber. Now the rubber, it stretches all the way forward, but the leather is placed over top of the rubber there. So it's a good idea to kind of tack it down a little bit, and it looks nice also with those decorative brass nails. I ended up getting the dovetail heels in. Sorry, I'm really tired, but the dovetail heels unfortunately didn't have that little gold label. I was like, dang it, come on guys. Sometimes those suppliers do that to me, but it happens. So I'm going to use this marking tool here. It's preset for 1 centimeter distance for me, so that I can measure out where these nails are going to go. And we're just going to do basically sets of 3. There, all right, and why not? Looks kind of nice right there. Let's do 1, 2, and 3. There we go. All right, so got them all marked up. Now I'm going to take a punch tool like this here. You guys have probably seen this plenty of times, and just punch the nails. So. Alright, so got them in. I think it looks pretty nice there. Just in 3s basically. Now I'm going to grab a different punch tool here and just kind of punch the nails down just a little bit deeper so they're not sticking up too much. Alright, now they're sitting a little bit deeper in there. Don't know if the camera's catching it or what, but looking pretty good. So we're going to keep the bottom kind of neutral, but give it kind of that, I guess you can call it wood grain texture finish, whatever you want to call it. Basically, now I'm going to go ahead and glue the insoles. Well, I'll finish out the other one real quick. Glue the insoles in, and then I'm going to go ahead and give them a cleaning and treating on the uppers there, and we'll meet you back here in just a minute. Alright, I'm back here again. I've got the insoles all glued up and everything. Buffed up with the bottom just a little bit more. We're not making it too shiny, just a little more on the neutral side there for you. And then took care of the uppers, and for the uppers, of course, we're only going to be using the best. And I already put away my renovator. Where'd it go? Ah, there it is. The Saphir Medaille Renovator Cream. This is going to be your conditioner. That's what I used on these to restore the nutrients and kind of refreshen that leather. It's got your mink oil in there, of course, for your key ingredients, lanolin, and some beeswax as well. The Saphir line does have their Beauty Cure line, which is kind of a step down. It doesn't have the lanolin in it, and it's not quite as refined, but for a pair of Ferragamos, you gotta go for the Medaille d'Or. Definitely a good way to go. And then restore a bit of the color and apply a little bit of wax. We went with the Pomadier cream from the Medaille d'Or line, of course, just the black there, and use that for kind of your base shine. I didn't apply too much of any kind of waxes, of course, no Pate Deluxes like that, because these shoes should not be too shiny whatsoever. I mean, they're supposed to have just a very light shimmer. And you can accomplish that very well with the Pomadier cream, because it's got a higher concentration of your waxes than, say, this one right here. I mean, if you were to pick just one product, the Renovator is definitely the way to go, because it'll condition it, and it's got that just enough wax to give it that light shimmer, not too much, but take it a step up. Definitely the Pomadier cream, higher concentration of dye pigment as well, so it's going to help restore a lot of the color that may have faded in certain areas, worn out, and all that kind of good stuff. But anyways, I think I got everything covered, right? I hope so. But yeah, that's how we resole a pair of Ferragamos from a rubber sole, which I don't even remember where I put the old rubber sole. From a rubber sole to a full leather JR sole with a JR heel base and a JR Dovetail combination heel. Kind of different, I guess you can say. Again, leather tends to be lighter pound for pound, but because this is a little bit more of a solid heel block, I think it kind of evens out to being almost about the same weight, in other words, on these. But anyways, hope you enjoyed it, and if you have any questions or comments, leave them down below, and don't forget to subscribe and hit that like button as well. Definitely nice saying that some of you are very excited about videos and everything that I've been posting, and some people are waiting for them. And yeah, sorry, it's kind of late here tonight. I'm very tired. I've been having to finish out a bunch of things after the move and trying to get things situated as well. And I saw a little strand that was bugging me. I apologize. But again, questions or comments, leave them down below. You could always swing by if you're local. If you're not local, you could always go to our website, and all of our contact information is on there. You can send us an email, pictures, you can give us a call if, again, you're not local as well and you want us to work on any of your shoes, boots, jackets, purses, belts, any other leather goods. We have the equipment to do a number of leather goods out there, and we have specialists in that. Some of you may have seen my sister Janelle working in the background over here in the new area. She's our main patch person at the moment, and we're probably going to need a few more here shortly because she's kind of overloaded with her stuff. But you could always ship it into us, and if you're wondering how, just go to our website, CobblersPlusCO, and under the ship and order tab, just follow the instructions, and we'll be happy to take care of any of your items and send them on back to you so you can continue to enjoy them, wear them, use them, do whatever you want with them, display them. If you're nice enough, you can display a nice pair of shoes. So, all right, but we'll see you all next time, and thank you for watching.